I never thought a simple favor could change my entire life. It all started on a rainy Friday night. I was sitting in my car outside a small diner, waiting for the storm to calm down, when a man I barely knew knocked on my window. His name was Eric, a co-worker I only talked to a handful of times. He looked nervous, soaked to the bone, and asked me for a ride. At first, I hesitated. Something about his eyes felt off, like he was hiding something. But against my better judgment, I unlocked the door. He jumped in quickly, breathing heavily, and thanked me. I tried to make small talk, but he barely responded, just staring out the window, clenching something in his jacket pocket. The silence grew heavier by the minute. Finally, I asked where he needed to go. He gave me an address in a part of town I normally avoided. My gut told me to turn the car around and leave him there, but I didn't. I drove. When we arrived, Eric leaned toward me and whispered, "Don't tell anyone you brought me here, please." Then he got out and disappeared into a dark alley. I wanted to forget the whole thing, but the next morning, the news hit me like a punch. A man had been found dead not far from the place I dropped Eric off. And suddenly, I realized, I was the last person to see him before it happened. I couldn't shake the thought all day. My hands trembled every time I remembered his words. Don't tell anyone. What the hell had I gotten myself into? At work, Eric wasn't there. No one had seen him. People were joking about him skipping out again, but for me, it wasn't funny anymore. I kept checking the news on my phone under the desk, scanning for updates. The victim was identified, male, mid-30s, stabbed multiple times. No suspects. I wanted to convince myself it was a coincidence. Maybe Eric just lived nearby. Maybe it had nothing to do with him. But the way he looked that night, the way he gripped something in his jacket, I couldn't lie to myself. He was involved. By evening, paranoia had me pacing around my apartment. Then it got worse. Someone buzzed my door. I froze. When I finally opened it, there was no one there. Just an envelope lying on the floor. Inside was a single note written in rushed handwriting. Keep quiet, or you're next. My blood went cold. It wasn't signed, but I didn't need a signature. I knew exactly who it was from. That night I barely slept. Every creak of the floorboard sounded like footsteps. Every car passing outside made me jump. By morning, my nerves were shot, but I knew I couldn't just sit there waiting. I went to Eric's place. His curtains were drawn, and his car was gone. When I knocked, no one answered. I tried calling, but his phone went straight to voicemail. My stomach twisted. He was hiding, or worse, planning something else. Then I noticed a small security camera above his door. The red light was blinking. I had never seen it before. Was he recording everyone who came near, or watching me specifically? I turned to leave and nearly walked into a black sedan idling across the street. The windows were tinted so dark I couldn't see inside. It didn't have plates I recognized. It felt like someone was watching me, waiting for me to slip. Back at my apartment, another envelope waited on the doormat. This one was heavier. Inside was a USB stick. No note this time, just the stick. My hands shook as I plugged it into my laptop. A single video file opened. It showed Eric, standing in an alley, arguing with another man. Then the man fell. Blood pooled beneath him. Eric turned toward the camera and smiled. I slammed the laptop shut, my heart hammering in my chest. The image of Eric's smile burned into my brain. It wasn't just blackmail anymore. He had crossed into something darker. And now he had dragged me into it. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Do not go to the police. Meet me at the old train yard at midnight if you want to know the truth. No name, no context. Just that. I felt trapped. If I ignored it, whatever Eric was planning could get worse. If I went, I could end up like the man in the video. Still, I had to know. I needed leverage, evidence, something. I copied the file onto another drive, and hid it under a loose floorboard. By midnight, the train yard was silent. Rusted metal and abandoned boxcars loomed in the dark. My footsteps echoed off the gravel. The cold air stung my face. I clutched the hidden drive in my pocket like a lifeline. Then, a flashlight beam cut through the darkness. Eric stepped out from behind a freight car, his hands raised slightly like he was surrendering, but his eyes were cold, calculating. I knew you'd come, he said softly. Behind him, two more figures appeared, their faces hidden under hoods. My gut told me I had just walked straight into a trap. The two hooded figures closed in, their boots crunching on the gravel. My instinct screamed at me to run, but Eric's smirk froze me in place. You've been digging too much, he said, his voice calm, almost casual. But maybe you're smarter than I thought. You came here alone. One of the hooded figures pulled something from their jacket, a phone. They tapped the screen, and suddenly, the giant lead billboard near the train yard flickered on. My stomach dropped. It was the same video, the man tied up, begging for help. Only this time, the camera angle widened, and I saw something I hadn't before. It wasn't just some stranger. It was someone I knew. Someone I trusted. I staggered back, whispering, "No, it can't be." Eric leaned close, his breath cold against my ear. "Now you understand. You're already part of this. Walk away, and you live. Speak a word, and you'll join him." For a second, the world spun around me. My best friend, the one I thought I knew better than anyone, was at the center of something I never could have imagined. And in that moment, I realized the truth. My life would never be the same again.